Page 304. A goddess say to be abstracted as sun, as hour, as sonar, as on IR, a sonar, indivisible invisibility now, as zany individual, as canoeing, turning out a being seen now at attention, in formation, merely mirrored out in words. A binary bhakti, a worshipping devotion in a wordship craft, indivisible invisibility in any eye appearing it, gazing it out in a wordship, worshipping now of anybody, merely mirrored appearing of it in word as anybody. Get it? Y'all merely mirrored appearing by appearing and gazing it out in toward a twisting into denial of it. A why I on ABC's asking of it why or you, why a now, why anybody, of a being seen now at attention in a pharaoh. A pharaoh is paruma, a being seen still in the first place in that sacred house. A being seen in the first place transmitted and sustained in the sacred breath, the paranaha. That breath of the divine is this breath. She spoke, touching his lips with hers as he looked up from the poisoned palate. She had his attention now. Sugar, I really got to work. This dang paint's captured my attention, calling out to you, but over there in that chair, he replied with a gentle nudge. Her flesh quivered with a shiver of goosebumps as the static charge came off the touch of her. Moore loaded a 12-inch palette knife with a row of half-dozen color beads along its steely edge. Sweeping an arm across the canvas, he spread the rainbow slugs of poison pigment. Arcing of a darkness, he mused, finding thoughts of a goddess to be pervaded by the code of ABCs. A goddess to be mono, the inward memory of it. A singular goddess to be literally, all supernaturally, supersonically, superimposed now in a painting, echoing out a doorway of everybody. Only a fool would fail to exit it now, asking of it why now, any knowing out of it appearing in motion, or fools rushing black in. He definitely a Russian, Moore chuckled. He yielded to the knife wielded before his eyes. Again he loaded the knife edge with variations of color until the entire canvas became a mosaic of random tints and tones. Edges, cutting, bending, blending continuous transitions. Sharpening the tip of a wooden-handled No. 2 Kolinsky sable brush, he began drawing into the wet paint Christina's contour. A positive negation of that continuity of the complete field. Now he must find then, lose only to find once more the proportions of her in it in her, ain't no why body in motion of the notion of Christina as thoughts of ABCs, in seen in her eyes, now in the word freedom awareness, any mere measly thin king of it mirrors any appearing of it information. Supernaturally, as any inward thoughts of it merely superimposed. Hold that pose a second or two, he muttered, finding speech patterns muted by the intoxication of the paint. The ping-ting tinnitus ringing his ears matched the decibel level of any normal speech. It seemed to grow in ratio with the degree of attention paid to it. Yeah, I heard that before, she replied with a frown. Well, y'all can still talk, he managed with a giggle, betraying the giddiness brought on by the fumes. She gave him a curious stare before continuing. Pharaoh Akhenaten built his city as much in towers of word arising from letteral bricks, in magical word sounds with the mirror function of his new supersonic Ottenbreath time machine playing, arise, chording in a mouth organized, phonographic alphabeta. Away Akhenaten instituted a science whole new wave of looking of it out toward any or every scant thinking of it. It gave us complex definitions of anybody appearing, and toward a twisting into denial of it being seen yet indivisible invisibility of any individual. Still, awareness of it in a word freedom untouched in the first place. Any individual now asked king of it why. She now paused to let the words sink in. More could not pause the obsessive compulsion of his handling the intoxicating pigments and the emerging of it being seen in a positive negation of the amorphous sea of color, negating of it informing contours of a body with a dimension of chiaroscuro. Anybody now understanding the spelling of ABCs becomes still as king of it why, now as any thoughts of a singular God. As say to be literally, y'all, and knowing out of it any mere appearing and gazing it into appearance appearing of it a while. A deceitful birth as exodus of individualism by the supernatural power of singular indivisible invisibility of now a goddess say. Now a knowing goddess say to be literally, all a sacred city in toward a Taurus, a twisting into denial of it, a positive negation of it. To be culminating now as zany thoughts of a goddess, say to be anybody knowing it out. Still it being seen in the first place in the new scripture of ABCs. It being seen in a word freedom awareness, paramount to any inward thoughts of a great singular God, literally y'all informing of it. A monotheism of material and efficient cause, any appearing of it as thought, supernaturally informing its still indivisible invisibility of any individual now, yet as king of it why. Now y'all catching my drift. Awaken Aten. A with Aken Aten. At attention of it being seen now as any thoughts of I gotta say to be literally, supernaturally, y'all, appearing, disappearing, in toward any supersonic or phonographic knowing out information of it. Powered by Abdalacaram Painting Echo Escaz, curving of it, a gaining and a gaining, in toward a twisting in toward sound waves, cosmic echoing a black around denial of it. It, a being seen still. She now merely appearing and gazing it out in her eye of evil, turn him completely black into the darkness, to be now complete. Complete, perceived our king of it any roles to be played or known, then again appearing of it, a being lack and still with intent to be a gain, in toward a twisting and twoe echoing of a painting of it informized, finely ground, heavy metal suspended in oil containing an inert self-replicating supersonic airborne virus. Array versus any denial of us. The dialectic, a phonographic catalyst to the corona versus virus emanating from the painting of Christina. More than in that proverbial blink of eye, realized his individual agency in the conspiracy of mirror ages. A time now merely echoing then. Now, then, now, the now, denial in the darkness. Any eye appearing and gazing and now to be out in a worship, worshipping perceived appearing of it, a mirror age of it still, our king, ask king of it why, a awareness now, a where now to be, awaken, at attention, understanding the inward pressure of Jesus with gravity weight of waiting, ablackness of any or everybody waiting to be a gain. A waiting moment after momentum or lifetime after lifetime. Now the ending of day. The wise now waiting as existing. A painting here out in her eye of her him it with a polarity on hand. On the one hand, but on the other hand, why, daylight igniting any ignorance of it, appearing still word freedom, freestanding awareness of indivisible invisibility of any individual. Akhenaten, a city of the first place, of the exodus of the inward individual, now, where now to be, as any thoughts of as ka now, knowing, turning into or out of a God, literally, y'all. Page 306. Literally, ABCs of a being seen appearing it, gazing it now out in formation into anybody. Any scant, stunned, starved, thin king of it, etc., appearing of it as other gods or goods. A monotheism, a money-theism, he mused. Aska knowing of a monai, God, literally, y'all, into it twisting into G's, us understanding the gravity of denial. Of monai. Now, yet asking of it why, a knowing denial of a being still in the first place, invisibility of any individual, Christina continued. ABCs produced mirrored billions of denamed individuals merely supersonically denying that indivisible invisibility of it in invisibility now as knowing why. Now at attention, a wave out as ex-coded in written allegories of our Genesis as Adam and Eve in the Garden of Eden or Aden or Aten. At attention on a wave out denying attention being still in the first place, etc., etc., etc. Ironically, an exodus from freedom to slavery. She now gave Moore a sideways glance, giving him pause in his painting. Exodus from freedom to slavery. Y'all create a slave in his own eyes, understanding the spelling of it toward a twisting into denial of it. Now anybody knowing outwards projects a denial of its own inward freedom. Moore replied with a grimace. Tricky Kali Ma's devious inward self-generating mirror. Duplicity. What could Warrena come up with to top that? Her him its soul hidden in plain sight in the first place, in denial of it, he wondered. Those squigglies are eyes in visibility, a self-fulfilling prophecy of doom and alienation. Justice of our own turning into knowing out of it any withered thinking of it. Into a binary of ABCs, now a binaries. Though passages have been rewritten and revised many, many ways and times, revelation of ABCs of Alpha Beta Time Machine never, ever changes. The transmission, the story is literally, y'all, in the letters. In word formas, thoughts, here out in her eye, Ivre, I, indivisible body, now out as X, acting, appearing out information in space a while, of her eye, her eye, in a tricky Kali matrix, a tricky Ivre body, here her Ivre field of view, a Taurus, the Tower of Babel, Akhet Aten, city of mud bricks, in a word Ba being Babel, a buka cosmic ooze existence with gravy of foolishly falling under the spell, understanding the spelling of it. Now ABCs of being seen literally, all city of the gods, Paruma, in a being seen still in the first place, indivisible invisibility, now a while appearing, a city of space, of entire neighborhoods, of alleyways where y'all classes of folks rubbed up on each other, from priests, traders, bakers, artists, craftsmen, painters, sculptors, goldsmiths, masons, architects, and the most beautiful women of the known world. Akhet Aten, city of light. Amongst the most beautiful women, Egyptian, Canaanite, Phoenician, Hittite, Midianite, Nubian, and Babylonian princesses. Akhet Aten. A being seen still in the first place, our eyes, Zion Aten. The old order of Amun priests were abandoned, their temples stripped to wrap the new city in gold and jewels. The elite warrior priestly order of the tribe of Levi, or a being seen alive, controlled the unwashed masses with fire and the sword. The rise of the cult of Aten, actually a reprisal of much older Vedic orally personically transcribed knowledge of a being seen now out in words as anybody of y'all about it. There is a dangerous air of liberation in the Akhet Aten air. Idols smashed, iconic hieroglyphs chiseled out. It is the wild, wild west. Exotic creatures, two-legged and four-legged, y'all on parade down the main drag. This lavish construction tapped the military budget, and you know you never want to put the squeeze on the boys. In any case like that, transferring y'all the wealth from one hand to another, subverting theological order, flipping the proverbial apple cart, creating massive upheaval of an ancient cultural order is a sure recipe for disaster. Perhaps Pharaoh Akhenaten foresaw that he was launching a missile, a bomb out into the deep mists of time. A bomb far beyond his present-day Egypt, that once launched from his position, positing of meanwhile indivisible invisibility appearing out invisibility information, he was destined to crumble back into obscurity. His was a destiny out for the ages, and thus to be quickly dismissed and dismantled in his own time. Appearing, disappearing, and to appearing in me or you, a memory as zany or Ivre body. The launch of the allegory of the Genesis of Adam and Eve, Aten and Eve, their banishment or exodus, the way of it as editing, duplicating any felt field of view of why now out from the Garden of Eden, or why Aten still grips consciousness, captures attention, 3,300 plus Y years later, yet his reign at that time, a mere 17 years, was short-lived along with that of his miraculous city, abandoned and dismantled, forgotten for thousands of years, still remembered moment by momentum inwardly, y'all. Mentioning ABCs to anybody, still of a being seen at attention. Attention of any in a Y body, still yet in a word freedom, merely mirrored in word, hidden out in plain sight, aluka da buka, a guda bazooka, ignition of disintegration of any situation. Still a being seen appearing and gazing at indivisible invisibility out in visibility of a Y-eye in y'all now. Appearing and gazing it out as supernaturally, y'all. Appearing of it out inward as X edding out of it. It's still in the first place now. Still as king of it Y, a la queen. Cat and K of that in which everybody means appearing as any thoughts of anybody, anywhere, anytime, etc., 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 in a long while of a second or two, or two, in toward, a twisting in two, appearing of billions. A mere duplicity tale of two cities per billions. Billions mirrored out in ABCs of a being seen still in the first place, invisibility, indivisible, to begin or end with. Add lack again. Aten and Eve. Everybody now our eyes still more caught himself falling as leaping to billions of mirrored lives, shattering, appearing, disappearing from ABCs of a being seen merely appearing and gazing it out now as towards, dividing, cleaving anybody, any desperate, disparate, scant, scarce, thin king of it as X, y'all. We all a wheel turning, I eternity yet as king of it. Why now a time machine? Machina, generating supernatural generatrix. Any, as zany appearing of it, appearing, disappearing into or out of it, a meanwhile, a cunning, cruel, deadly deceit appearing, merely mirrored, yet as king of it. Why now a queen, everybody, every eye turning into or outward of it as cosmic microwave, black around echoing, ping-tinging billions of Y years. Years of mankind, a kind of man is mind, or a mean memory heareth years of a being seen now out a hearing of it echoing at lack around, a knowing, a gain of it still in the first place motionless, indivisible, invisibility, now as king of it why, queen, everybody appearing of it as any word, thoughts of a great God, I say to be letterly, y'all, planet Earth, a supersonic planet heareth of a supernatural superimposition of it echoing a ping-ting, a black around, to be again of it merely mirrored in toward a twisting into denial. Still our king, as king of it why, a la queen, now awaken Aten, a with Aken Aten now at attention of a knowing out of it, appearing, disappearing, appearing as anybody, any flimsy, scant, stunted, shriveled, thin king of it, etc. That Exodus, ABC's wave out of a YI merely appearing and gazing in toward a twisting denial of it. A yet indivisible invisibility out now still as any mere supernatural inward thoughts of a goddess to be. As king of it Y, a la queen, cat and K of that in which anybody appears in a pairing of it. Page 308. Of it as ex-edding painting esca now knowing out of it as any inward appearing, disappearing supersonically as silent tatwam thoughts of it. As zany thoughts of it must inevitably result ultimately in picking up on a being seen beaming for my sound healthy waves of Ivre body now billions, yet as king of it, as Ka now knowing turning out in denial of it, as Exodus. A waves array all out, still awareness, where now to be of it, out in a word freedom, untouched awareness of a freedom liberation now in time for Mas Christ Mas Christ of a being seen now here out in her black eye turning G's us a black around Ma's thoughts of Ivre body to spread out as any thoughts of it in a virus. More had a virus. A viral storm of a splitting schizophrenia inherited from a Mars psychosis. A psycho sisterhood of Kali Mars planet heareth with horror show, a show nuff muff. A psycho virus, a virus, still just us, a plain pain out of it, merely supernaturally, y'all, in words, a letterly, y'all, a time machine, a time, or now two in toward a twisting denial, a will of we all a wheel, turning that black around complete darkness now to be perceived yet. Our king of it, why, a seer's eye, still appearing and gazing it out now, out as sound, dissolution, fundamental, funny action, wave, as cosmic, microwave, black around echo process of it. It still indivisible invisibility, now a while, here, out in her eye, radiating, perception merely appearing it, a gazing it out as zany inward thoughts of a knowing it in toward a two, appearing of it, a twisting, ping-ting, playing out of a liberation denied. A darkness, black or white or any hue of man as mind or why now to be perceived, turning, a knowing, a twisting in two of it, merely mirrored a while in any awareness of a why I still merely appearing it now, still as king of it, why turning as God knowing, denial, twisting in toward any, ain't no why, appearing, disappearing of it, as X, y'all, a being seen a gain by now in a supersonic, supernatural, spiraling, viral storm as lightning striking of a worlding world of it as cosmic denial. A stillness in the hay art. Our king of it, why, a complete encirclement, unbroken, even as Ka now, no, knowing out denial of it. Under the spell, understanding the spelling of a time now, as ka now, knowing, turning a while, a machina as alpha beta, baby. Best be aware of the ABCs of it, more now found it as thoughts of it supernaturally echoing a Mazrei, any potential misery. She nine wordily, all intoxicated by colored heavy metal zapping ting, pigments of painting breaking across the canvas's plane, inside of ABCs of it out before the artist's eye. A field of you or me, and a memory of a time now, machina of thoughts, here in Hermia's eyes, a hermit with a potential polarity on hand, a potential positive negativity negating of it waves function of funny action, a potential appearing of it opening any pie hole mouth to release a tale of two cities as two sister powers, as two ladies, a vulture and a cobra, with yacht. We all a wheel turning into or out of yacht, he mused, amusing himself with thoughts of a tricky Maz by our eyes. By now, our eyes. Alpha, Beta, and ABCs are being seen now out a Luca de Buca. A Bible by being L function, reflecting out and toward a twisting and twirl memory now of thoughts in history. A God essay to be now letterly, all ask king of it why a queen. Everybody ask a knowing out of it any man. A man is mind or a why I appearing it out in toward a twisting into as cosmic memory. A pharaoh Paruma in the first place of it being seen in our eye, all of a sacred first supersonic person, that awareness in AYI of that I am is. A with Akin, Aten, awaken, Aten, at attention, at attention. A Y, attention in the first place, Ak et aten, a our eyes on attention. A Luca de Buca. A zany history book must be rewritten and revised many, many times, dictated by fickle winds of fate blowing people, culture, language hither and yon. Still, his zany thoughts, if I gotta say literally, y'all, ABCs, a being seen, our being seen, going out of that in the first place. Indivisible invisibility of anybody, of a seer, going, gaining, Jesus, in toward a plain sightseeing from any point of view, of you now yet as king of it, why now knowing, projecting as existing in word, information. Merely supernaturally in word, as any thoughts of a goddess say to be, seen in toward a twisting spell, spelling out of it literally, a out of it. Biblical scribes, now nearly 1,000 years later in Babylonian captivity, must conceal the true identity of the patriarch Pharaoh as their captors abhor y'all things Egyptian, Christina continued. Akhenaten, shepherd king, became an amalgamation of rulers reborn as Abraham, mere Mesopotamian shepherd. Now his story transmitting still supernaturally superimposed as thoughts of her himit as king of it, why a queen, and K of that means in which appears anybody as zany, meager, maladjusted thinking of it, why out here in her eyes, apping of a wave ray body, appearing now and then disappearing, as sound waves echoing into or out of billions of years. into or out of billions of eyes, embellishing, translating, interpreting, misinterpreting it through several languages. A being seen still in time, not literally, all ABCs, alphabet time machina. A being seen glistening now, y'all, now. In ABCs, a wire of a being seen glistening, it's still out in toward our y'all, often of a twisting into a binary years. A by now merely mirrored, yet as king of it why now, a knowing out of mind or memory, or why y'all merely appearing it, a gazing it, appear of it out in our eyes, any thoughts of it. A y as x, adding, duplicating supernaturally in any mirrored black around, why nah. A y or our I now, out as exodus. Yet our I turning a black around as leap into a unconsciousness. A singular, indivisible, perceived a black or instilling intent to be a gain. A begaining of it still complete, yet a complete darkness of it now to be perceived, our king of it why neither black or white, or any hue of man as mind, or why in ABCs, turning it in toward any information still as king of it. Why now a knowing, turning out of it anybody, anywhere, anytime. As Ka now, knowing, projecting out of that eye, still appearing, gazing it from above as below. Of a being seen yet in the first place, the great house of a pharaoh. A paruma, Aket Aten, a paramount first place of a first supersonic person. A I and you are y'all are ideating now, to be perceived as king of it I merging, ab Lagran echo, no in turning out a denial of it. A I on a being seen going out as exodus in word, information in a now why y'all speak out in ABCs in the first place, of which you speak, more added being the wise as any artist, knowing of it now. Ha ha. Pharaoh's 17-year reign launched his alphabet supersonic time machine, now 3,300 plus personic years plus billions of eyes into the future of now the modern era. Modern. A mode right now. Drawing on the right side of the brain in the word freedom is still at home in the first place, indivisible invisibility. A why now, understanding any spelling of it, enhanced. Page 310. Enhanced golden jeweled relics and tune preserved with his successor boy Tut. Not only was Akhenaten remembered by gold and jewels, calling attention. Attention, home, still in the first place. Now Akhenaten memorialized as a biblical patriarch Abraham, his father-in-law, I, became God the Father of the first biblical commandment. Anoki Adonai. Any eye of I is Aten. Et attention binary eyes eluca labuca. By now our eyes, a eye of a being seen in toward ABCs, any inward information of it, thus the second commandment. Anybody or any thinking of it appearing is merely a mirrored in toward a twisting in two information, appearing in denial of ABCs, of a being seen still in the first place, indivisible invisibility. Thou shalt have now a God as thoughts appearing before me, or you in memory. In anybody seeing invisibility out and toward it, still as king of it, why now a no knowing, a why denial, still a seer sightseeing on it out as existing a wily while of a cunning cruel craft of a mirrored binary beauty or beastie, a live or dead, wisdom or folly, the uncanny awareness of that still indivisible invisibility now appearing, supernaturally superimposed, still as king of it, why, a la queen, K of that in which appearing of it anybody as out here in her eye of everybody. Considered in light of this awareness, the biblical allegory of Adam and Eve offers means of finding oneself as awareness of it as ABC still alone in the garden, before learning to see, hear, taste, smell, touch, apple, in a wave function of it in toward a twisting, knowing, projecting out now into the na, then na, out in na, me, now me alone, indivisible. As any personic individual that I am is our I, all often binary. It being seen now became merely mirrored, inwardly all as anybody, as king of it, why, as ka, now knowing out of it, inwards as anybody or everybody, divine, a while, DNA, as existing information of it being seen, God, now y'all, go, energy, pressure, gravity, and a being seen, beaming, now knowing, a while as that simple twist of DNA, denial, a being seen appearing of it out in word, information, a while. If y'all ain't busting up laughing, then the denial of its sheer folly becomes extremely sad. Of such is the con of the duplicity of Adam and Eve as X, y'all. As a consciousness at attention gave out a wicked laugh that set hair standing. Bingo, baby! The dialectic just clicked. Y'all this on about that inward spell, y'all talking only in denial of awareness of the other hemisphere of the brain. Duh, that awareness indivisible. Duh, a brain is indivisible. The other hemisphere always a modern mode right now, completely in a word freedom untouched. As any memory of anybody, any thinking of it, etc. Y'all just turned a key to my highway. At attention being captured and toward a twisting into a denial of it still indivisible. A turning out in a word freedom now in toward a twisting into a knowing. Out of a denial of a word freedom into bondage in word. Merely supernaturally as any word thoughts of a goddess say to be letterly, y'all. Inward creation. More, finding himself still in the first place in the word freedom, went black to invisibility. Invisibility of a being seeing a visual focus now as a beaming color fields developing in plain sight in a word freedom. It was now as though something untoward, untwisted like a knot in his heart, unwinding. Christina gave him a knowing smile as if looking at attention relaxing from the muscles in his face. In a word, freedom completely instantaneously filled in any untoward, twisted denial of it, filled with the fullness as any complete denial still of it. Pow! She responded. Her lips played out the sound waves with exaggerated force. Pow! Pow! Power of ignorance ignored. Of it being in our real eyes now as any or every body, a black body, turning a black around into or out of any knowing intent of a mere being seeing a gain. A gain of it now liberated from falling as leap into any knowing out of it that untoward spelling of it. A eye of a being seen merely appearing and gazing it from above, as below still in the first place in the word freedom, now apprehending its supernatural, supersonic superimposition as thoughts of a god. A goddess say to be creator of a creation inwardly, all merely appearing mirrored out in her eye, wave function waving out any or every body. A being seen still indivisible, invisibility only appearing, as king of it, a la queen, and K of that in which appears a black around in her eye of any or every body. A being seen in one singular black body. A now out as in toward, a twisting in two appearing again as a gain, to perceive, to think about knowing out that awareness in a denial of that I am is any thoughts of a goddess to be born out toward a gain. Now, born in word, then merely mirrored as any thoughts of dying or killing to keep from being killed. In word as information. Christina washed over his still visual modality in a word freedom. In a word freedom awareness, y'all, words merely evaporate without knowing anybody, etc. Y'all, the while Sheena keeps in a slow fluid motion in a bioluminescent felt feeling field. A field of you now in any verse, a universe shimmering, Sheena glistening, electric city. More felt in her every words as sound waves playing him for shore. Him once adrift, finally washed ashore. That towering torus of her electric city energy field poured through his spiny feeling, rushing up through his heart brain on out into his cosmic chakra, passing his desire from above as zapping down below, as above as below. Moore knew the only way to painting Christina was as still in motion. Invisibility of any peering and gazing it out as a spirit of Sheena still appearing in formation in space of muscled flesh tone, tightening, turning now into a knowing out of Kali Ma as a genius or a maniac. He began to appreciate the magnitude in her eyes on him as Sheena eviscerated y'all notions of his separate inward identity. As zany thoughts of a god, essay to be a zany matrix of a Y trick eye, a triangle asking of a Y, knowing out as karma. A go, essay to be at Ma's energy. ABC or G, a key eye to any appearing of it information. A being seen and toward any go, essay must perceive to be out in her eye of any or everybody. Now that go, baby daddy. His central nervous system and his peripheral nervous system burned with a cool fire, spreading into colors as cool cobalt fire, fired with hot French vermilion at his fingertips, laid on a 12-inch steel palette knife, building foundation. making her a bed, or making war Raina's extent. He had to wonder, damn Murphy and your law about anything too good to be true. He was intoxicated as hell, but why not keep going with it? He certainly could think of no good reason. Now, still being seen out of it, captured in black lace, or in a black face of Quiescenta Enzokia, he flashed. Anoki Adonai. I am Adonai, father-in-law now. Pharaoh, God the Father, I naturally has converted to Atonism as he keeps the title Adon or Aten I. Once anybody, merely one. Page 312. One of billions in ABCs of it being seen in any mirror picks up on the code. Eyes are opened, y'all three. For Ivre Iaten et attention, a binary of zero appearing and gazing it as Ka now turning into one knowing out appearing information of it. A being nary any scant thinking of it information. Once anyone realizes or picks up on a still being in the first place, one finds that in a word freedom, immortal immortality of a why I merely appearing, gazing it from above as below. That I am is awareness now and forever, everybody. Why fall back as leap into a blackness beyond obvious need of a why I rista? When knowing, feeling, a being, seeing, freed, freedom, a why nah, brah. Christina gives him the full, curious lips. Best keep the eye in the game, dog, Moore told himself. Pharaoh Adonai merely continues to function by fulfilling his purpose of playing the role of God the Father, delivering the chosen monotheistic warrior priest, Yahuwah. Yahweh warrior priest, some already initiates to an older Vedic oral tradition of Brahmatman. A reality, principle, singular, indivisible point of view of a why I merely appearing and gazing it. Monotheism presaged by Advaita Veda Anta, that singularity knowledge, ending with y'all are I awakening Aten. Are y'all eyes zinging any beginning of it merely a wave function, ending now to perceive anybody mirrored out in toward a twisting denial of it, baby. A ba being why denied. A God the Father, Adonai recognized the stature and power of the Yahuwah, the genocidal warrior priests. As now thoughts of it gotta say to be literally, y'all, the Father or desire, I negotiated the wave as Exodus, as zany thoughts of a singular God, as say to be now, a turning as king of it, why as cause now knowing out in toward a twisting denial of the wealthy, powerful high priests, warriors with superior metallurgy weaponry, along with their converts and support people, the multi-ethnic riv-rav bakers to candlestick makers. Tens of thousands must be removed, relocated in order to restore the previous cult of Amun. Her black eyes leap within a womb, as Kali Ma. Multi-ethnic multitudes of our eye fraction as zany inward thoughts of a goddess to be monotheist controlling the capital wealth. In the middle of a nation rising up, her Amun polytheism presented Adonai with a dilemma. Should he stay? Should he go? Father Adonai naturally was initiated in a hermetic science, which confirmed invisibility at paying attention to it. Sanctioned inward as any thoughts of a singular goddess to be monotheism, awareness, where a being seen now asking of it why, knowing out in word of thee is mere memory mind. Thee is ma being seen out inward information as zany definite definition of a being seen still in the first place, indefinite in a word freedom, indivisible, invisibility. Any defined intoward denial memory of a being definite, while still a mere mirroring of a being seen in the first place, a paruma parusha, a first person, still in the first place, now yet as king of it, why, knowing out of it merely in the word. Mono or monai, mind in the or why, now, knowing any mirrored why, now you now, the point of you now, invisibility of you, as any seer sight seen at attention, a why eyes binary by now, as a hookah deluca. Christina asked with a flourish of her outstretched hands. He realized she pushed that time machine of her Ivre, Kalimare, to a being seen now as king of a wide knowing of that somehow stretching black 33 centuries and beyond, evaporated instantaneously with any inward memory of it, dissolved in a word freedom timeless awareness of it, still as king of it, why, with why. It is said I did not get on to the new alphabet language, yet he retained the sobriquet Aden. I forced the boy king Tukan-Aten to become Tukan-Amen. Still he kept his head in Aten, as key I to comprehend the mere nature still, asking of it why, knowing out of it in toward a twisting the cosmic world, a supersonic denial, planeting the earth, echoing out a black around here, out in her eye of everybody appearing it out as sound waves. Her eye inspiring the invention of the alpha binary Bible, brilliant written book allegory, in word here it in her eye wave of Ivre funny action function of a being seen by, being a why now as X. Indivisible invisibility of her eyes of everybody as existing information. Her eye as Exodus. One serpent coiling into appearing as two. As toward a twisting prescience, whole power, a mere opening mouth as organ of speech, releasing tail. Tall tale of father eye, spoken into a race as we all of us turning into the promised land, still in covenant agreement in the ark of that covenant with I, to perceive the promised land now as Canaan, a vassal state then being invaded by Iberus, marauding shepherding tribes. Thus the monotheist warrior priest could take the prize with the help of the armies of Adonai. Now the promised land is that mere wave function duplicity of a being seen mere appearing and gazing it out, appearing in word information here, out of her eye of everybody eyes promised Elan, duplicity alive and a being seen in word information still today. A promise still mirroring billions out of that indivisible invisibility of any individual. A billions of now turning in toward a twisting denial of it yet as king of it, why Aliqueen, K and K of that in which still we all turn black across the mirror sea of reeds. Black across in the event our eyes on it merely appearing and gazing in a word freedom moment by momentum. Now still asking of it why, knowing out with intent of our idealizing merely appearing and gazing it. A why I have being seen possibly possible within word by dialectic debate of why are you now speaking of a why I merely appearing gazing it, or a mirror denial turned into any appearing information of it. A meanwhile now a space and time, spoken by now are y'all in a wave of turning that background into the hermetic science of a why I have a hermit freestanding in a word freedom. A guardian still in the first place, guarding a garden of Idon, of a Idon at attention. A binary of a being seen still in the first place now, appearing and gazing it out, asking of it why not, turning into formas the first time at last. More saw vaporous inward sound wave ray trails on the periphery and a plain sight seeing of it in her eyes, eye on any or everybody. It seemed the paint fumes captivated attention only as in toward ABCs, a twisting now out of it carried away in word on supernatural thoughts echoing according to the voice. Sonoro expressado vigorosamente. Vigorous sonorous sound, waves ripping the cover. DX posing as any name, anybody, as X posing in a being seen in a now wide name, not me, of a being seen freestanding alone, still indivisible invisibility of any inward formation of it. Thus, the first commandment is to remember it, a being seen in a word freedom awareness. Page 314. Awareness of a being still in the first place. A being still in the first place. Still that. Adn a y in indivisible invisibility appearing, gazing it from above as below. In the beginning the word as a cult. A worship of the wordship craft, carrying a y away as any thoughts of a singular goddess, a to be mono, the is a moni. A memor y of a yi still appearing and gazing at indivisible, invisibility of anybody, etc. The one indivisible divinity of a being seen now often of 10, a 10, a knowing out of it, a binarized, defined as sword slicing and dicing anybody into by a why now as X, y'all. Adam and Eve asking of it why, a la queen, K and K of that in which a go essay to be spelled out. Now in the wave function of the garden allegory, the guarding a garden yet, asking of it why now and knowing out in toward the denial story of a Moni Steri of Akhenaten, Abraham, a Brahmin, Adonai, Atman, Adam and Eve as atom and E-wave continues to capture y'all's attention. Still as at attention of a science whole body appearing as ex-slave, as a moni. a monai slave. A monai at attention in toward a psi hole. A binary scene of monai on now. A I by now our I. A ray, often seen as setting duplicating as zany thoughts of a singular great God, essay to be literally all ABCs of a being seen still in the first place. Now, out of it, a knowing denial. A monai mirrored out in toward a twisting king. A knowing of it in her eye, merely appearing it out of any evil wave function. A wave function appearing of it in toward a simple twisting of fate, faith, or family. El familiaridad. Desire from above as leap below. That indivisible, supernaturally appearing the memory of our fraction, a ray reflecting anybody in toward it as sound waves, as zany, asking of a why, knowing now, knowing it out as cosmic memory of a desire from above. Desire of desire as cosmic fire, Father perceives synapse. Siyanamanaha. AI, why that cosmic cycle of it in her eyes, informas. Waters precipitated up as to fall as leap from above of a being, seen still now flowing black as sure tidal place where personal supersonic memory mind or why flows black into one incoming great cosmic black mirror sea as you now ABC's consciousness with intent of a being seen again. That's the hard consciousness. A hard con. A cruel, cunning, deadly duplicity, anybody appearing of it, disappearing of it in her eyes, and merely appearing and gazing it out of any or everybody right now. Christina paused, letting him see. Now merely monai of a seer appearing and gazing it out, mirrored inward memory and memory of it now, no longer needing a knowing out. That caught his attention for a moment that could stretch into a monai eternity, asking of it why, as thoughts of a great goddess as to be literally, y'all, me, or you asking of it why, a queen. Why I merely appearing and now must appear of it as thoughts of turning into a knowing out of anybody, any chancy thinking of it, etc., turning as thoughts of a being still into the weight of waiting on a being seen, a gain of it out of a complete darkness now to be perceived, turning into a gain. Merely opening eyes as a leap into the black of the head and the word freedom awareness of a why eye appearing and gazing it. Or now at attention, now asking of it why a la queen, K and K, of that in which anybody, etc., appears of any knowing denial in toward ABCs, informing a being seen out of it in twisting, in spiraling our eyes on eventing out in a hurry as any or evray body, a conning merely in toward it as any thoughts of a great God, essay to be literally, y'all, into forma sound waving, eyeing down from above as below, of a being seen desire, still in her eyes, stare eyes, zinging, appearing it, gazing it, going up from below, a being LOA and funny action mirth of a Taurus mirth of turning it black around into her out of a cosmic monai stare eye now out as exiting, merely duplicating waves here in her eyes as any thoughts of any or everybody. Tatai machina. That Monai Mimas in her eye now on him, ask king of it why, in the or why you're it. How? How the heck is y'all still here now that I am picking up on how much energy is needed to maintain a constant ignoring of it being seen still in that indivisible? Now asking of it why y'all got to feel like a kid in a cosmic candy store, I mind, or why invisibility? In a word, freedom, timeless awareness of it now is kind of knowing out of it. A now wise, the first time still in the first place, that in the or why of why, appearing and gazing it out of y'all a while, still in the first place. More wondered. Why is the sky blue? Christina offered. Because it is, in her eyes, a joke. In her eyes, leap black into a con, she-ness, us in a tricky comic mind and still in intent of ignoring, knowing a being, still that say me or you a memory as cause of y'all. As zany memory thoughts of a god, as they to be ABCs of a being seen now out asking of it why, knowing denial of it zany causally y'all in toward a twisting and spiraling a formation. In denial of a being, still that indivisible invisibility of now y'all seeing me by ignoring you. Seeing me by ignoring you. Now, Aska, knowing, projecting a memory now. Under the spell, understanding the spelling of Alpha Beta, we all turn into a word ship, worshipping, sailing here out in her eyes as leap into a black mirror sea as any thinker, thinking supernaturally of a being seen as any thoughts of a goddess to be literally, y'all. Art of a being seen in a why. Monai, appearing and gazing it out from above, as below, as X, y'all. Now, out now, appearing inward, ascribed, information under the spell, understanding any spelling, of dividing the divine, are y'all, indivisible. In a word, freedom, invisibility, awareness of a being seen, information as anybody. Hammering the nail, carpenter. A bringing of you, a view of you in a black around, asking of it why, libertad. Eski, eska now. Knowing why yet, in a word, freedom still. As king of it why, in a word, freedom now, y'all. A while we all, as thoughts turning into or out of a knowing, projecting out, any denial of it, still in a word freedom for everybody, out in ABCs, I am a being seen, are y'all, turning that black around, asking of it why, a la cat and K, queen of that in which anybody, etc., appears, here, out in her eye of everybody. Priests had been exploiting this mirror inward division centuries now till somebody, the justice, right, somebody in the nearly justice still right moment comes along saying, ain't having none of that superstition. That super stare, super imposition, by supersonically mirroring it inwardly, y'all, as any doggone mere thoughts of a no goddess, say to be literally, y'all, a singular indivisible attention. Now that I'm realizing that, I am calling Utistata! Arise, awaken, Aten. Are y'all singing that I am is that I am is that singular Singularity as cosmic, ought not attention being y'all subjectivity of any chosen subjects. Going to realizing, asking of it why, knowing out of a new city. Based on the ancient Ariel principle of it being seen in our eye attention. Now that monai of that I am is arealizing awareness of it being seen still. In a word, freedom, that indivisible invisibility as any individual. Anybody of y'all can realize it as well as we all turn into or out of it. Now, this ain't no hippie commune. A being seen chosen inward out of an entire empire. Page 316. Empire now as in one gleaming, glistening supersonic or phonographic emerald city. A BC city of a god, essay to be any inward thoughts of a being seen in monai, dedicated to pain, attention. Attention. It could only be a moment till momentum of the vanquished became vanquishers. The city rose and fell in a mere 17 years. Still the city of our eye, be all otten breath, alpha beta lives in Ivray, all city out there defining Ivray now with the na. A now allegedly that underlying promise of delivering anybody from the tyranny of a being seen in the Orwai, under the spell, understanding any inward spelling of it. Now placed in Agat Aten, the horizon of our eyes, Ion Aten, often at attention in the first place, now yet as king of it, why now knowing out of it. As a binary. A by now, in appearing a gazing it, at it, merely appearing mirrored of it as X, y'all. Now picking up on it by A, being Y, realizing Y liberates attention from intent of intentionally disregarding A, still being Y. Yet today, billions under the spell, understanding the spelling of any alpha beta, weighted by Jesus, gravity of waiting on death. Will they, the Y awareness, awaken as awakenaten? Arise and awakenaten, now out, forward and toward, a twisting in time as X. In that I am fielding the time machine as to recapture attention, releasing that spelling by redirecting attention to a mean, for my sound way of Ivray means by reminding anyone of a being still in the first place, that monai. Stare I way to be a star. That's any mere mirrored point of view of you and me, or you appearing out as X, y'all, still in the first place as X planed, or flattened out a while inside of any role of complete darkness. As X, y'all? Shucks, in a shite storm, y'all do have a way with inwards penetrating me long before I could penetrate you. As X, Moore replied. You completely permeate me till I am no longer finding you. You, everybody, inseparable from me, no longer a while of me or you. The sheer intoxication. It's the paint. It's the model. It is the drugs, the sex, and rock and roll, Christina offered, stretching and twisting hips, arms reaching, fingers extended. Yeah, Whew! I'm going to need the rest of that tea. The wounded knee caused Moore to grimace as he adjusted his weight on the high chair. The contours of a body now rendered on the canvas in 3D with a chiaroscuro of light and shadow. The texture of paint now chunky. Moore began knocking it back down, then stippling the surface with a broad brush. Whenever his will began predominating, the work lost its vivaciousness of a cosmic influence. It became flat and mean, like a life spent deliberately ignoring it. Rather than as king of it, why, now Moore realized the sheer folly of any function beyond the obvious intent. In painting, a certain functional coordination applies, but the real deal comes through you, he mused, comes through you. As hands kept moving right before his eyes, on her as it. A painting, ringing, echoing building of it in her eye of evil. A being, a lack will of it being seen, a gain of it still complete. Of we all turning into rolls, or rolls in complete darkness that ain't black, dark more thought with a grin. Mere the archetypes now, to be perceived in any roll or roll. A Luca pa de Luca. Any birth is any death ad infinitum as extreme nauseam. It seems suffering is the only antidote to any denial of it. El lupa de lupo. Is eternity asking of it why now any black around knowing out of it to be a gain? That's a serious partial eternity. Asking of it why, a la queen, Kenke, as axial, as sword splitting moni into merely supernaturally, in towards it as any thoughts of a singular god, as say to be literally all of his science, whole eye merely appearing and gazing it out in her eye of any or everybody, as any thoughts of appearing of it falling, a falling as leap black into a sun, a you now consciousness, merely appearing and gazing it out, awakening, not awakening a binary attention, a double trouble, yet asking of it why now merely any mirrored appearing of ABCs in toward a twisting denial of it as any thoughts of it. Only as thoughts of a singular goddess say to be literally all it being seen now, turned, asking of it why, and toward a twisting as ka now knowing, denial of it possible. Inward memory as any thoughts makes it as existing a while possible. A being seen still in a word freedom of drawing on the right side of the brain, more feverishly drew on it, or it drew him into a singular but silence now impinged by the painting of Christina's image, zinging, echoing a tinnitus, ringing his ears. Hold that pose just a second or two more. Uh-huh. Heard that one before, Christina replied with a cunning smile. I wouldn't lie to you, but I might lose track of time, Moore replied. Then I have no choice but to blab on. The time machine is smoking now. You be feeling the rush of her now, ocean of ocean. In her eyes, as leap black into a mirror, seeing as echoing that black around. Sears tatai machina as kalima. Devour in time now as the ending, turning you all knowing her children into crones and dust. Tatai machinas, sirpanatas fang. A fang as to funny, tricky, trick eye action. A shredding black in her eye of any or everybody creation. In her eyes now a while, Kalima's deadly, tricky, treacherous, devious waters do flow out eternity. As king of it as to put it mildly, Moore replied. And you should worry about old white man Warrena, when you be here now feeling it. The paint that I'm seeing in your eyes is in her eyes, along with the color in them paint tubes. Then I reckon I am being better by mentioning the man as Mag is spinning, y'all. My Gus, my man, as Ma's mind or why. There'd be a lot of Ma in them Ma Gusses. Hermit, so you or him, the end remains the same. In that I am meaning he engineering you. Therefore your goals would be similar, Moore offered. Except that I am way more ruthless, nasty, and bewitching than Papa Warrena. Of course, as soon as having those thoughts, he comes into me. The dynasty awakens. Once upon a white time, the world, the X, known part, found common black around. It, y'all, go around the time machine of a being seen transported generations of mind forward inward as letterly, y'all, ascribed array, y'all, as a moni. Stare, y'all, now, a knowing out as not. It, that indivisible invisibility of any individual seer sight seen, sphinx-like through many, many, many mirror ages.